It's now time to talk with Brian Baldinger here, our Audacy NFL insider on 105.3 The Fan. And a good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Good to be with you. Thanks.
Man, it's so great to have you, Baldy. We're talking about this Eagles attack and why it's maybe been a little bit disappointing here recently. The Goddard absence, the Hurts injury. What narrative would you choose to describe if the Eagles are maybe struggling a little offensively coming into this matchup?
I saw them score 34 against Buffalo. That's not bad.
Oh.
Last week, they couldn't convert in the first two drives. You know, they kicked field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. They've been pretty good in that department. And then, San Francisco just, ran them out of their own gym, and they got away from a run game and all that. So the game kind of dictated what they had to do, and they played great defense. And it kind of limited what the Eagles have been really good at, whether the RPO game or the run game. And so they when they get away from the running game, they're not very good. And sometimes they just do that. Sometimes the game dictates it. Sometimes it's not part of the game plan. They did it against the Jets. They abandoned the run, and they threw it because they thought the secondary was going to be weak in New York that day, and they turned it over 4 times. So, they can still be a very, very good offense. Goddard will definitely help them. It was good to get Lane Johnson back. He did a good job against Bosa last week. So I think they'll get a lot closer to full strength. And Goddard helps them in the run game. He's a good blocker. They got a strong side run game with him. They don't really have that without him. So I think it will help the offense quite a bit.
What do you think is the best way for the Cowboys to utilize Micah to have the most success against Philly?
Well, I think the way that they use him. I mean, his speed is blinding. If the quarterback gets moved for any reason and he starts to chase him, the play's over. Like he's going to make him throw it into the stands. But I like the way they move him around, like attacking the center, attacking the back, putting him over the left side, putting him over the right side. I think the way that they're using him is the right way to use him. I don't know that I would just – like last week, Nick Bosa basically lined up on Lane Johnson one-on-one, and Lane had his way with him. He's healthy right now. He's playing really good football. I don't know that that's a way that, Micah is going to have great success, like if he just lines up on plays on every single play. I think they got to keep moving around. He's had great success this year working over the guards too. Like find the weak link and let him go to work on him and have, Dan Quinn kind of get him isolated one-on-one with certain guys. And if he gets one-on-ones, he's generally going to win most of the time.
It's Brian Baldinger here with you on 105.3 The Fan. Okay, so how much does it hurt the city of Philadelphia? What happens after a big loss like that? I know here in Dallas it takes about 4 or 5 days to recover. How's the city now?
Well, there's a lot of panic. What is this the Eagles team that was 10-1, or is this what they are? I mean, defensively, they're not very good, and they haven't been good. And so, that's why they just went out and probably got Shaq Leonard. I mean, I thought he was going to go to the Cowboys, but after the linebacker performance last week, they had to do whatever they could to get Shaq Leonard in there. They got to fix that position. It hadn't been good since they let T.J. Edwards walk in free agency last year. The pass rush isn't close to what it was a year ago, and the secondary has been given up. I mean, they've given up 5 more touchdown passes this year than they gave up all of last year. They're last in the league on third down defense. I mean, they're not a good defensive team right now. And so I think people are beginning to understand that it wasn't just an aberration. It's been going on now. The Washington Commanders scored 31 points in each of their games against the Eagles this year. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a quick fix to that defense right now, but that's a cause for concern for every Eagle fan.
We're joined by Audacy NFL insider Brian Baldinger, host of the Audacy original podcast In the Huddle with Jason Lockenfor and Carl Dukes, covering the entire NFL. Any insight into what that sales pitch looked like to Leonard coming off that loss?
No, but I mean, all you have to do is watch Christian McCaffrey run by Nick Morrow, and I'm sure the phone call to Leonard's people was being made before the game was over. You just can't, you just can't have somebody out there that can be just that frozen in space. And it's not fair to Nick. I mean, nobody getting isolated against McCaffrey is probably going to win, but you can't get beat that bad. And so I think, it's a real concern. And I don't know what the health of Zach Cunningham is. He's been a good player for him. They picked him up during training camp this year, and he's been good. Zach's always had great speed. Doesn't run like he did when he came out of Vanderbilt, but he's still a good player. And I don't know what his health is for this week yet or not. I'm not sure the Eagles know yet. But it would be good to get a little better player in the middle right there. But, look, it's not a position that they have emphasized here in Philadelphia. They rely on a strong secondary and a great pass rush. And it would be good if the pass rush woke up and started affecting the quarterback like it did a year ago.
Hey, Brian, Seth Joyner, former Eagle, took a run at this, as you mentioned, this Philadelphia defense and the tackling and, a little bit of the toughness. How is that taken by the fans, by the team? Is a former player calling them out like that something that that they take well, or is it something that did need to be said?
I played with Seth, so I know how Seth thinks.
Sure.
But, that's 30 years ago. So these players don't, look, I think they respect Seth. They should. But I don't think they listen to a whole lot of stuff out there. Philadelphia's media is pretty well known. If you started paying attention to all the things that get said, you might get really distracted. So I don't think it has a lot of weight. But, Seth does a pregame and postgame in Philadelphia. And, he has a certain standard about how you should play the game. And he's always pretty freewheeling with his opinions about it.
When it comes to the Cowboys defense, do you chalk it up to a bad night versus Seattle, or is that something to be concerned about here moving forward?
Well, the Cowboys were concerned. They switched Deron Bland to the other side, put Stephon Gilmore on DK Metcalf, so they were concerned. It doesn't matter what I think or what Cowboys fans think. Dan Quinn thought there was a lot of concern there. We're not going to let him, cover a guy that can get to 23 miles an hour one-on-one. And so, let's get a little stronger guy, a more veteran guy, a guy that has a lot more experience in this league, and see if we can slow that beast down. So, they made the correction. They probably waited a little bit too long. But, look, Deron Bland has made his share of plays in this league. One bad half doesn't crucify him for anything. But the Cowboys made the switch.
Baldy, is there any concern with Jalen Hurts' injury from your perspective? The lack of running, is this just like the evolution of a quarterback as he moves into that second contract, or are they making a big move to try to keep him healthy?
I think the injury had a lot to do with it. There was a pretty serious bruise. That I think the bye week helped him out a little bit. He got a lot of treatment. He's been reluctant to really pull it down and go this year. Just the way Josh Allen has been, and I think it's made him a better overall quarterback because I think he can beat you from the pocket. I think they're short a third option at receiver. They go back and forth between Quez Watkins and Zacchaeus right now, but getting the tight end back is going to help a great deal. They did a lot with him. They knew they were going to miss him in the pass game. Literally, the tight end was invisible since Dallas Goedert went out. And look, if Dak was just throwing to CeeDee Lamb like he did last year and to Dalton Schultz, and they didn't have another option, they were limited. And if you just want to try to throw it to A.J. Brown, he would love it if you just threw it to him every play, but it's not a good formula, And so it's good to have options where, if the team wants to try to, rotate the safeties or bracket them or take them out and you leave somebody else one-on-one, it's good to have quicker options to throw the ball. And I think, getting Dallas back and trying to figure out that fourth wide receiver, I think it's going to help Jalen a great deal. But I also think he's just going to, he's never, ever going to say anything about any injury ever. Right. It's just who he is. But I do think you'll see him take off with the ball if he doesn't like what he sees this coming Sunday night.
Baldy, there's a lot of fun matchups in this one between the Cowboys and Eagles. For me, I think Steele and Reddick is a really important one for the Cowboys. He had his way with Terrence Steele there on the right side. Would you attack that differently from a Cowboys offensive standpoint, maybe giving Terrence Steele more help? And is there a matchup that you're most excited to watch?
Well, I thought it was really fun watching Tyler Smith and Jalen Carter go at it. Jalen Carter is he's an elite talent. Zach Martin recognized it when he had to go up against him. But I think that's fun. But, yes, I think Terrence and Hassan is, he's got 9.5 sacks in the last 8 games or something. He had a broken thumb to start the season, but he's come on. He knows he needs to have a big game in this game. He's got to affect Dak. And Terrence Steele is not a weak link. He's a good football player, but that's a matchup that you got to pay attention to, because if you just give Hassan too many one-on-ones, like the 49ers found in the NFC Championship game, I mean, he's going to win eventually. So, and they move him around, they run him on stunts and twist him inside and do some different things. But, if Terrence Steele gets off to a late start on Hassan Reddick, you better start screaming look out to Dak, because I don't care who you are. It's going to be hard to recover and get in front of him.
Brian Baldinger with us here in the GBag Nation. Looking around the NFL a little bit, does it look like the Packers have their next franchise guy in old Jordan Love?
I think so. I don't know what you could watch, especially over the last month, and not think that he can do it. He's got an elite arm talent. He made some throws against Kansas City on Sunday night. You could put those up against anything that Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre did. And I'm not comparing them to those two guys, because they both did it for, a decade and a half or more, and they won Super Bowls. So, he's a long ways from that. But, he's playing at a very high level. He trusts his protections. He sees the field very well, and there's not a throw he can't make. And he's working with, just a bunch of kids. And you can just imagine that if this thing is allowed to grow for any period of time over the next couple of years, this could be, an elite offense in this league led by Jordan.
Baldy, have you ever seen anything, and I kind of understand it because of Philly being a tough city. Have you ever seen a security guard get involved or a security director get involved on actually have an effect in the game?
I think the security director before that,
Butchie, that's my guy. Butchie was the best.
Yeah, Butch, I think he actually drew the ire of Andy Reid one day.
Yes.
He drew a flag.
Yes.
He didn't get thrown out of the game, but he drew a flag from the official in the game, and all Andy Reid had to do was just give him that stare.
Right.
And Butchie backed off 15 yards.
Yeah.
But I for what happened to Dom,
yeah,
I have not seen that in this league.
Yeah. See, it's funny you talk about Butchie, because he helped me when I did the draft in Philly in '98. He got me more information about these players than anybody. Butchie was the absolute best. He knew everybody.
Yeah.
He knew everybody. So I'm glad you brought him up.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
You ever go after anybody, Baldinger, other than the other team?
Like an official or?
Yeah, official,
or
fan,
coach?
staffer, coach.
Not there now.
That
no,
Chad Brown, I'd have gone after Chad Brown. I bet he called holding on you one time and you got pissed off at him, right?
There's probably that might have happened, but it wasn't a good idea to get on the bad side of any of those guys.
Yeah,
it just wasn't you wanted to sweet talk those guys during TV timeouts, and let them know that if I'm holding, it's only because I have to. And I need this job really bad, those kind of things.
I got to feed my family.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me get away with this one. That's
There's
probably
Taylor out there. I'm going to grab his inside shoulder pad and I'm going to twist him as soon as he starts beating me. But don't throw the flag. I need this job next week and they're after this.
That's what all these offensive linemen are saying to the referee that are blocking Micah these days. It's all making sense now.
Yes. Don't make me look that bad.
Gosh, just give me a little help.
Nobody can block this guy. We all have to do this stuff to him.
There's been so many memories in Cowboys Eagles. As someone who's been a part of both sides of this rivalry, is there one that stands out to you?
In '92, we played we were both undefeated week 4, and we played the Cowboys on a Monday night. And I remember Jim McMahon was our backup quarterback to Randall, and his son Sean. It was his 10th birthday, and Jim had bought him a remote control truck. So he thought it was a good idea to try out the remote control truck while Jimmy was pacing the field before the game at Veterans Stadium. And he was literally chasing Jimmy with the remote control truck 2 hours before kickoff. And Jimmy had no idea where that truck was coming from. It was like a pit bull nipping him. And we just thought whatever we could do to get Jimmy off his game with the remote control truck might be good to win in that game. And we won that game pretty handily, I remember.
That's epic.
Crazy.
Surprised Jimmy didn't just smash that thing.
I thought you were going to say he kicked the truck.
He stomped it out.
Yeah.
But McMahon was so good with the remote control. Jimmy didn't have a chance to smash it.
There you go.
Yeah, Sean got himself a good remote control truck, man.
Enjoy the game, Baldy. Thanks again for your insights.
Yep, my pleasure, guys.